Hi, I'm Denise. Thank you for watching my video. This video is part 2 of my discussion about the sounds S and Z. In part 1, I already discussed how to make these two sounds, and I discussed which letters make these sounds, and I gave example words for each of those letters. Now in part 2, I will give you some example words to practice with me using both of these sounds. I will talk about how to know which sound to make. It's not always apparent because the letters S and Z can make both of these sounds. So I will give you some tips on how to know which sound, okay? Then I will compare the pronunciation of nouns and verbs. I will practice some similar words with the S and Z sounds. And of course ask you to practice with me. And I will practice similar words with S and F. This is a sound made with the letters TH. And also similar words with Z and F, which is the other TH sound. And finally, I will give you some sentences to practice with me. So this is part 2. Let's get started. I would like to give you some example words to practice with me. Okay? Let's go. Here are some words containing the S sound that I would like you to practice saying with me. If you need instruction on how to make this sound, please see part 1 of my S-Z video. This is part 2. One reminder for you is that S is a voiceless sound, so we do not use our vocal cords for this sound. The words in this column have S at the beginning of the word. The words in this column have S in the middle of the word, and the words in this column have S at the end of the word. Many of them also have S in another place in the word as well. Please repeat each one of these words after me, just for practice for you. City, celebrate, salt, sauce, science, seat, sentence, service, sleep, space. And I would like to make some comments about these words. Notice that in this word, the letter C is followed by the letter I, and here the letter C is followed by the letter E. We learned in the previous video that the letter C does make the S sound when followed by the letter I or the letter E. We can also see the letters CE in many other words that I have here on the board. In this column, look here, we have it in the word sauce. When we have CE at the end of the word, we normally do not hear the letter E. It is not pronounced, but we do hear a S sound for the letter C. So here, CE sounds like S, just like it does up here. And in many other words too. Science, I have CE at the end. Sentence has CE at the end. And service and space. So in each of these words, the letter C is followed by the letter E. And also these letters CE at the end of the word normally just make a S sound. Okay, let's go on to column 2. As I said, in these words, the sound S is in the middle of the word. It may also be somewhere else too. Please repeat. Concert, cancel, express, 60, greasy, messy, muscle, possible, message, process. Notice in these first two words that the second letter C in each of the words made the S sound. Here we have CE, concert, and here we also have CE, cancel. But the first letter C did not make the S sound. In each of these words, the letter C made the K sound. Here, C was followed by O, and here C was followed by A. In those cases, C usually makes a K sound. Here, remember from the previous video that the letter X can make the S sound. In these two words, it makes two sounds. It makes K and it makes S. So this is express, express. And this is 60, 60, okay? Both the K and a S. Also, this word, of course, has the S sound at the end with the double S, okay? Here we have SY and SSY, another double S, greasy, messy. In this word, we have SC together. In a few words, when we have SC, the C is not pronounced, so we just hear the S sound for the S. In other words, though, we do hear the C, so it depends. But here it's muscle, and I also had science, where the C was not pronounced. Here I have possible, it had a double S, another double S, and here in this word, this letter C makes the S sound, and also the double S at the end. Okay, let's move on to the last column. Here, please repeat after me. These words all end in the S sound. This is address, useless, kindness, discuss, increase, promise, license, politics, analysis, nervous. And I would like to make comments about many of these words as well. And this word, well, useless, we have the S sound for the letter S, also the double S here. But these last four letters, L-E-S-S, occur in many words. Here I have useless. I could also have tireless or fearless. We have many words where we can put L-E-S-S at the end, okay? And it's always pronounced less. Here, where I have N-E-S-S, this is a suffix that can be added to many other words as well. This one is kindness. I could have happiness, sickness, okay? Many other words that end in N-E-S-S. Discuss, increase. Here's another, well, a few words, a couple right here. I have S-E and S-E. The E is not pronounced, so the last sound in these words is the S sound. Here I have both a C and an S making the S sound. Here I have the word politics. This word ends in I-C-S. We have many words that end in these three letters. The C here makes a K sound, but the S makes the S sound. So this is politics. I could have physics, ceramics, analytics, graphics. There are many words that end in I-C-S, and those words sound like X at the end, okay? A K and a S. Here I have analysis. We have other words that end in S as well. And here nervous. We have many words that end in O-U-S, and the last sound is S. I could have obvious or cautious. Those words also end in O-U-S. Here are some words containing the Z sound. The words in this column have z at the beginning of the word. The words in this column have z in the middle of the word, and the words in this column have z at the end of the word. A few of them have z in a couple of places. Please remember that this sound is a voiced sound, so that means when we make the sound, our vocal cords do vibrate. Okay? Please repeat each one of these words after me. Zeal, zero, zest, zinc, zone, zoo, zebra, zipper, zodiac, zoology. Please notice that in each one of these words, the z sound is made with by the letter Z. Okay? That's not the case in the next column. Please repeat these words after me. Busy, easy, exam, observe, resemble, business, possess, scissors, lizard, sizable. Please notice that in these words, in many of the words, the z sound is made by the letter S. Also, we have the letter X making the z sound. In these two words, we see the ending of the word is sy, and this makes the z sound. In the previous list of words, we also had sy, but that made the s sound, so we can have both. This is busy and easy. In this word, the letter X is making two sounds, g and z. In the last list of words, the X made the k, s sounds, okay? But here it's g, z. Exam, exam, okay? Here, the letter S again is making the z sound, and we have seen previously that the letter S often makes the z sound. Again, the letter S, this one, business. This first S makes the z sound, but the double S at the end makes the s sound, not the z sound. So that's why I have not underlined these S's. In here, in the whole board, I have underlined the letters that make the z sound. So if some letters are not underlined, that means that they do not make that sound. Okay? Here, I have two sets of double S. The first set, possess, these two letters do make the z sound, but the second two letter S's, they do not make the z sound. They make s, the voiceless sound. Here I have two S's again in scissors, which make this sound, z, and also the S at the end makes this voiced sound, z. But the S in the front is not underlined, so it does not make this sound. It makes the voiceless s sound. Okay? Here we have a couple of Z's which make the sound. All right, let's look at the last column. Please repeat these words after me. Buzz, quiz, analyze, organize, cheese, freeze, please, because, confuse, exercise. Okay? I'm exaggerating that z sound a little bit, but it does need to be there. These words do make that sound. Here I have two Z's together in a word, which make the sound, and here and elsewhere I have one Z. We have many words that end in the sound eyes, analyze, organize. Sometimes the spelling is Y-Z-E. Sometimes the spelling is I-Z-E. But in either case, the pronunciation is eyes. Here I have three words which rhyme. Cheese, freeze, please. They all end in a vowel sound of E and then the Z sound. Notice the spelling is not always with the letter Z. Sometimes it's S, sometimes it's Z. The spelling of the vowels may be different also. Here we have two E's. Here I have EA, but the sounds are the same. Also, as with the last set of words, with the voiceless sound, in these words, when the ending is E, that E is usually not pronounced. So the last sound in these words is Z. Okay? Cheese, freeze, please. Okay? Now the vowel sound changes in because, that's a Z sound, confuse and exercise. Notice I did not underline the letter X in this word. I did in this word, but in this word the letter X does not make the Z sound. It makes the voiceless sounds K, S. This one, however, makes the voiced sounds G, Z. Okay, just some words to practice. Here are some very common words which make the Z sound. In each of these words, Z is made with the letter S. Please listen. As, is, has, his, does, goes, these, those, whose. Now I would like to discuss how to know which sounds to make. It's not always clear, so I will discuss that a bit, and I hope to give you some good tips. How do we know which sound to make? But I do have some observations to share with you, some observations that I've made, especially about the letters S-E. The letters S and E occur very often together in words, and sometimes that letter S makes the S sound, and sometimes it makes the Z sound. So I've looked at lots of words, and I've made some observations about them, so I'd like to share those with you, and I hope that this will help you, okay? When we have the letters L, S, E together in a word, the S, the letter S, usually makes the S sound. Here are some examples. Else, false, pulse. So the letter S is making S, the voiceless sound, this one, okay? When we have the letters N, S, E together in a word, we most often always get the S sound. Here are some examples. Sense, consent, license, expense. When we have the letters P, S, E together in a word, we most often get the S sound. Here are some examples. Eclipse, glimpse. When we have the letters R, S, E together in a word, we usually get the S sound. And here are some examples. Horse, nurse, course. When we have the letters S-E-R-V together in a word, we can get either S or Z. But when S-E-R-V begins a word, or I wrote when it's alone, or when it is combined with the letters C-O-N or D-I-S, then we usually get S. Here are some examples. Serve, conserve, disservice. Okay? In each of these words, we're getting S. Then I wrote otherwise. So that means when this is not the case, when S-E-R-V is not alone or with these other letters, then we get the Z sound, as in these examples. Deserve, observe, reservation. When I looked at different vowel sounds, I saw that still the letter S could be pronounced either S or Z, but with these vowel sounds, the words that I looked at more often were pronounced with the Z sound. So let's take a look. This is O, U, I, A, A. So for the sound O, and in particular the letters O-S-E, the letter S could be pronounced either S or Z, but I found that it was usually pronounced Z. Here are some examples. Chose, knows, those. With the sound oo, which could be spelled in different ways, so I didn't put any letters here. This too, the letter S too, could be pronounced S or Z, but it was more often Z. Here are some examples. Amuse, choose, confuse. With the vowel sound I, here too the letter S can be pronounced either S or Z, but I found it was more often pronounced Z. And here are some examples. Rise, wise, surprise. I found the same thing with the sound aw. It was usually Z, the letter S was usually Z. Here are some examples. Cause, pause, nausea. With the vowel sound A, when it was spelled, when the combination of letters was spelled A-S-E, I found about an equal distribution between the S sound and the Z sound. Here's one example for each of those. Base, it has the letters A-S-E, it makes the S makes the S sound. Here, phase also has the letters A-S-E, and the S makes the Z sound. But when we have that same vowel sound, A, spelled in this way, A-I-S-E, I found that the S was usually pronounced Z. Here are some examples. Raise, braise, praise. Although I have the letter R in each of these words, I also found other words without the letter R that had the same sounds. So those are just some of my observations. I hope that that will help you to guess the pronunciation when you come across a new word, okay? So for example, if you see a word with O-S-E, it's very likely that the letter S will be pronounced as a Z, and so on. Now I would like to move on to comparing the pronunciation of nouns and verbs. So let's go on. Another way to know which sound a word makes is, for a small number of words, is to look at the part of speech of that word. Okay? By part of speech, I mean, is it a noun or an adjective or a verb? The words in this column are either nouns or adjectives, and they all make the s sound. The words in this column are all verbs, and they all make the z sound. Please look at these words though. They are spelled exactly alike for the words up here. They are spelled exactly alike, but they are pronounced differently. This word is an adjective. It's pronounced close with the s sound. She is standing close to me. I live close to the school. Close. It has a s, voiceless sound. But if I use that word, the same spelling of the word, as a verb, it's pronounced differently. It is pronounced close with a z, voiced sound. Close. Please close the door. Okay? So as an adjective, it's close. As a verb, it's close. And that same rule applies for these other words. Okay? Please listen. As a noun, this is house. I live in a house. S. But house is a verb. I housed my friends for 3 nights. Okay? As a verb, it's a z sound. Here as a noun, this is use. I got good use out of that machine. As a verb, it's use. I use that machine every day. Here as a noun, this is abuse. And as a verb, it's abuse. Here as a noun, this is excuse. As a verb, excuse. Here as a noun, this is refuse. As a verb, it's refuse. So again, the ones on this side are either nouns or adjectives. They are pronounced with s. The ones on this side are verbs, and they are pronounced z. Here are some additional words down here. In these words, the spelling changes from one to the other, but the sound follows the same rule, okay? So here we have a noun. This is advice. It has s, okay? As a verb, it's advise with z. Notice the spelling is different though. This is spelled with a C, this with an S. Advice, advise. Here, this is an adjective, loose. My shoe was loose. Okay, it's an adjective. Here is a verb, it's lose. Don't lose your shoes. Okay. Here is a noun, this is choice. And as a verb, choose. All right, let me read each pair. Please listen. Try to hear the difference between s and z. Close, close. House, house. Use, use. Abuse, abuse. Excuse, excuse. Refuse, refuse. Advice, advise. Loose, lose. Choice, choose. Oh, I forgot chose. The past tense of this verb also has the sound z. Chose. Okay? And there is, of course, an exception. And that is with this word, the first one that I have up here. This spelling, when we use this word as a noun, it is pronounced z. It's pronounced the same way as the verb. Close as a noun, or close as a noun, is z. I brought the meeting to a close. A close, this is a noun, but this usage is not real common, okay? These are more common. Now it's time to practice similar words with the s and z sounds, and to help you try to distinguish between these similar words. let's look at some similar sounding words, and please practice saying these words with me. The words differ only in the sounds s and z. So the rest of the sounds in the words are the same for each pair. The words in these two columns have either s or z at the beginning of the word. The words in these two columns have s or z at the end of the word. And the words in these two columns have s or z in the middle of the word. So please listen and please practice saying these with me, okay? Please repeat after me. Sap, zap, sip, zip, sink, zinc, seal, zeal, sown, zone, sue, zoo. So I hope that you heard that the sounds in the words for each pair are the same except for the beginning sound, except for either s or z. And also as a reminder, s is the voiceless sound, so there's no vocal cord vibration, and z is the voiced sound, so there is a vocal cord vibration, okay? When I have words next to each other like this, separated by a slash, that means that those two words are pronounced exactly alike. They are two different words, they have two different meanings, but they sound the same, so I put them both here, okay? Let's do that once more. Sap, zap. Sip, zip. Sink, zinc. Seal, zeal. Sown, zone. Sue, zoo. Okay? Let's try the words in these two columns, and the sounds s and z occur at the end of the words. Okay? These two words sound exactly alike, and these three words sound exactly alike. When I have the letter E at the end of a word, it is not pronounced, so the last sound is the letter before it is the S sound in this case, and over here it is the Z sound. The letter E is not pronounced. Okay? Please practice saying these words with me. Okay? Be sure to distinguish between S and Z. All right? Race, raise, peace, peas, bus, buzz, ice, eyes, price, prize, place, plays. Okay? Should we do it one more time? Let's go. I hope you want to. Race, raise. Peace, peas. Bus, buzz. Ice, eyes. Price, prize. Place, plays. All right? One thing I did not mention is that the spelling may be very different in pairs of words, but the sounds are the same. So here I have a Y. There's no Y in this word, but the sounds are the same. Here I have IE, and here is EA, but again the sound of those letters is the same. Okay? Let's take a look at the last two columns. Here the sound S is in the middle of these words. The sound Z is in the middle of these words. So let's practice these pairs, and please try to distinguish between S and Z. Okay? Let's go. This is, in these first two words, the S occurs twice, here and here, and the Z occurs twice, here and here. Okay? This is decease, disease, muscle, muzzle, precedent, president, racer, razor. So again, the spelling is not the same, but the sounds are the same. Okay? Let's try one more time. Decease, disease, muscle, muzzle, precedent, president, racer, razor. Now that we've practiced similar words with s and z, I would like to move on to practice similar words with s and f, and also z and v. Let's move on. Some people have a little bit of difficulty distinguishing between the two voiceless sounds s and f, and the two voiced sounds z and v. So I'd like to practice some words using those different sounds, okay? This sound and this sound are the sounds that we make with our tongue between our teeth, like this, okay? I have another video about those sounds if you're interested, but for now I would like to just practice saying the words that I have listed here and try to be sure to make the s sound for these words and the f sound for these words. And then of course z for these and v for these, okay? Please practice saying these with me. Saw, thaw, saw, thaw, sick, thick, sick, thick, sing, thing, sing, thing, sink, think, sink, think, some, thumb, some, thumb, gross, growth, gross, growth, mass, math, mass, math, mouse, mouth, mouse, mouth. Okay? In this word, we don't pronounce the letter B. All right, so that's just a little bit of practice between those two sounds. For those of you who might have a little bit of difficulty with that, again, this is the sound we've been working with. This one is, okay, with my tongue between my teeth. All right, let's go to the next two columns. Please repeat. Bathe, 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 breeze, breathe, breeze, breathe, close, clothe, close, clothe, closing, clothing, closing, clothing, soothe, 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 tease, teethe, tease, teethe. All right? This one I pronounced as a verb, okay? So this was close, of course, with the z sound. Finally, it's time to practice some sentences using the sounds s and z. Let's go. I'd like to look at some sentences now containing words with the sounds that we've been looking at. These three sentences have many words with the s sound, And these three sentences have many words with the z sound. I have underlined the letters in each word which make the sound. If, however, I've put a red X under a letter, it means that that letter does not make this sound. So in this word, for example, the first letter S does make the S sound, so I've underlined it, but the second letter S does not make the S sound. Instead, it makes the Z sound. Here's another example. In this word, I have put a red X under the first X, so it means under the first S. So that means that this S does not make the Z sound. Instead, it makes the S sound. But I have underlined the second S, so that means that this one does make the Z sound. All right? Please practice saying these sentences with me. I will first read them slowly, and then I'll read them a second time at a more natural pace. Okay? Some summer songs sound sweet. Some summer songs sound sweet. Steep stairs seem strenuous. Steep stairs seem strenuous. Sally was sleepy due to several sleepless nights spent studying. Sally was sleepy due to several sleepless nights spent studying. Okay? Now for the Z sentences. The zoo's zebra exhibit seems exotic. The zoo's zebra exhibit seems exotic. A dozen lazy lizards dozed in the plaza. A dozen lazy lizards dozed in the plaza. Those guys emblazoned zigzags on these blazers. Those guys emblazoned zigzags on these blazers. This is the end of part 2 of my S and Z video. If you have not yet watched part 1, please watch that one also. In part 1, I discuss these items up here. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks very much for watching, and please watch some of my other videos as well. Hope to see you next time. Bye.